All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to your weekly market check-in here with myself, Greta Wall. I'm your host, and I'm joined by David Prince, the leader of T3 Live's Inner Circle virtual trading floor. David, happy Thursday. How's your day going so far?
Today is glorious.
It has been a good day for sure. All right. The topic of our stream today, we are talking about Circle to 500. Maybe we'll see, but up 12% almost to, as of our recording right now, 11.76% is the current gain on the stock just today. You've been very busy with Circle this week, so I wanted to just take a look back on some of what you and the Inner Circle have been doing. You started the week on Monday. You added puts in the morning, and we're out of those by the afternoon. Also, with those puts, you were shorting stock, the equities, on Monday as well. You shorted twice on Monday, two different shorts at two different charts, but I just picked this one. Then on Tuesday, you were back with more puts, those 230 weeklies, buying them in the afternoon on Monday, actually, and then holding until the morning on Tuesday. So that was a nice win overnight for the puts. And then Epic Trades, your options newsletter, also got in on the action on the opposite side with calls from yesterday through today. So we bought those calls yesterday around noon, so trimmed half later in the day, down to a trailer this morning and out 100% flat this morning a little bit later for, I think it was like a 79% gain overnight. So it was a great win. So talk about Circle, what you've been doing with it, how you've been able to play both sides, the short side and the long side, and then kind of your longer term picture of this name and where it's headed from here.
Sure. So I basically looked at stablecoin and said, "Oh, wow." Um, I pride myself on being knowledgeable, especially in new growth stories. I'm a little late to understanding how important of a business this is. Forget about Circle, just what stablecoin means to the business world. And I realized, oh, okay, this is important. While doing so, I realized, well, I've missed Circle. Like that I'm not, it's up at the time 700-800%. How can we be involved? And we took a look at Coinbase, which has a direct relationship with Circle and does like a huge business in stablecoin. And we started buying Coinbase to represent our stablecoin position. Got lucky because Coinbase is up, I don't know, 40% in a straight line the last week or so. On Circle, we looked at it pretty simply. Listen, this is going to have a blow off top. And a lot of people, newer traders, should not concentrate on this stuff, but it's what I'm good at. It's what Kira's good at, right? I was shorting SMCI at 1100, Tilray 300, NVIDIA once upon a time for like a 30-point reversal. The point is, this is what we do. So in this case, I said, okay, we have to layer into a short. I won't be able to call the high, but I can see 300 being possible. And let's just give it time. And if we miss it, we miss it. But when it is screaming higher, let's layer in via stock and short. Puts. I'm tired. I'm on 2 hours sleep. Via puts and shorting the stock. So for the newsletter, which is less active, it's for people that aren't managing books like us. We did the puts, but for us, it was really about shorting the stock and doing some puts. And it was a home run trade. Had a harsh reversal. It was up literally 1,000% in a straight line and needed a break. The RSI, you have to take with a grain of salt, but because it's only been trading for like 14 days, but it was at 93, 94. Typically, when I short a stock at 93, 94, as long as it doesn't have only 1 million shares outstanding, I'm going to win, sometimes win big. So in this case, I was pretty comfortable being short, and we did it. And then, and I always tell newer traders this, especially, listen, that's fun. It was a monster trade. But clearly, we should have been long. At least we have Coinbase, but let's really look at this with clear eyes. This is clearly the face of stablecoin, and we need to be long. Where can we get long? So I started kind of plotting out how I would do things. And I basically put a starter position on, it's today, Tuesday night after the close. Circle was crashing during that day on the reversal. And Tuesday night, Karen and myself bought stock at 215. Figured I'll start some. I hope it goes to 200, but I'll start some. The next morning at 4 a.m., it was up like 20 bucks, 22. So I said, okay, I don't think it's bottomed yet. It's not going to be that simple. No way in hell. I'm up 20 points overnight. I'm going to close it. And we did. And then we started really plotting how to build a position. And that happened yesterday. And we pretty much bought, I would say, 80 to 90% of our position between, to be fair, say 205 as low as 195s in after hours last night. And today I'm down to a trailer. I held a large amount till, I can't say 227, but I can say till about 215, 220. And now I'm down to a trailer. For me, it was a trading vehicle. I'm going to hold that trailer for a long time. If it starts to pull back even more yet again and lets the moving averages catch up, call it 175, 180, I'd love to put some back on. But I saw two extremes to take advantage of on both the long and the short side. And as I said on the Spaces last night, we are in such a frothy market, might as well enjoy these wild ranges. So if I can make 20 points one night, 25 points the next day, which I did on some Circle today, that's what I'm going to do. There's no reason to overthink things. So that's how we played Circle. Coin was an amazing swing that just had a monstrosity move.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Core Scientific on this news with CoreWeave, it's a monster move. Anyhow, that's the rundown on how we played it.
Mm-hmm. I do want to talk about Coin a little bit. You talked about how you guys were trading the stock, but this week as well, you and Kira both took home Coin calls on. Let me get my days right here. You bought them Monday, sold them 100% higher Tuesday morning. I mean, the way these names are moving, just based off of the way Circle is moving, having these proxy plays like Coin has just been an absolute gift. Yes.
Yeah, Coin's the real deal with stablecoin. What happened is, there are a lot of the investing public, especially retail, didn't recognize, wait a second. And in fact, Bitcoin wasn't moving when Coin got re-rated. It became a whole new stock. Like people are like, oh, this is not the coin we understand that's related to Bitcoin and opening accounts and crypto. This is a stablecoin company that has monster revenue there with 50% growth. And that just
All right. We appear to have lost David's stream. Let me see what is going on with that. Hopefully we can get him back here real quickly. I will be right back, everyone.
You there? Because let's roll through this. I don't know.
All right. Sorry. I don't know what happened, but we are back. All right. You were talking about Coinbase, how it's been re-rated. It's the stable coin play.
And I'd be a buyer of any real dips. 20, 30 point dips. This is a whole character change, and it's without Bitcoin, flying. So I think there's more to go. Does it need a rest? Is it stretched? Sure, but it's something you want to pullbacks.
When you look at a name like Circle, sitting here at 222, what was the high of the day?
Almost 227 because of the
227.
spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
224 right now.
Um, what I you called out some levels a bit earlier, but be a little more specific on what are the specific levels you're looking at on the lower side, the upper side. Where could this go from here,
Sure.
etc.
Uh, right now, the top of yesterday is acting like resistance. So if you look, that was 22750. It stopped right in front of there, right? So I was in the circle. Hey, we'll probably stop right in front of there, and I think we pulled back about 10 points. Yeah, we got to 214 or so. Now we're back into there. I would imagine if we can get above there, you'll get a little blip back up to a recent uh, pivot support, and that's 232, 233. Through there, then you're talking 248, 250. But frankly, I think you got to treat this stock with a grain of salt. Like just because it's off 300 doesn't mean anything. Like some people make that mistake. Like, oh, it's off at 300, I can buy it here. The stock was just 30, 40 bucks. So even 225 is pretty special. So my point is, this is not a stock I'm buying higher, hoping to sell it higher. I think that happens. And now you want to buy it into pullbacks. Again, we had one intraday. We stopped in front of 227 and pulled all the way back to, if you look at the intraday charts, an identifiable level, 214, and bang, it's up 10 points from that area. So that's how I would play this stock. I think it needs to really simmer down a bit before it can ever get back above like 250, 260, and even think about attacking 300. We're in a wild market, so I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying right now, 227, 232, and then 248-ish. That's enough. Let me put the sum part. Anyway, yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
All right. I want to talk about. We are still getting a few earnings reports. One of those being Micron last night got a huge gap up post earnings and then totally failed to hold. So it was a screen grab of the chart, 5-minute chart from earlier in the morning, but it continued to fall down from there and bounce a little bit back down. Now, when you look at the current chart, but you can see that post earnings high. We had a really big response and then it just failed. What do you think about Micron's earnings report and the stock here? You were talking about the RSI and all of that last night on the inner circle, and the things that matter when you're going into an earnings report, if you're going to see if something's going to hold or not like that.
Yeah, I mean, earnings are only half the game because many times we're built in. So I told everyone yesterday when it was, 133, 134, I was like, holy this thing's at 86 RSI. Literally, to quote myself, I said even pre the print, I said, they're going to have to give out Labubus, if you know what Labubus are, and blow away earnings, and then it still may not go up, even if they give out Labubus. We see what's happening. It's just built in, right? The street and myself knew this would be a probably solid report with gross margins improving and a lot of strength between the commodity side of the company and what they're doing with NVIDIA. But the stock more than doubled off lows of April. So it's just a tough report and needs to absorb these gains before it can go higher. So it's kind of a very easy call to say this is the last stock you want to buy right now. Let it pull back. So phenomenal earnings, phenomenal guidance, all built in. And people are always looking 6 months forward. Micron's not typically the type of company that can continue these type of margins and growth for years at a time. So some people question it. So it's a natural pullback that I think even bulls would expect.
All right. Another chip name that you gave us a great call on last time you and I were live here is AMD. AMD on June 5th was our last live stream that you and I did because we've done some other events since then. But you told everyone that AMD was the better AI chip play than NVIDIA, not because AMD was going to take over NVIDIA as a leader, but because it was a better risk-reward trade. At the time, AMD was trading at 117. Today, we're at 100, just under 144, so up nearly 27
We
points.
hit 147 though, 148 this morning.
Right, but today, right now, 144. So 27 points right now. This morning when we were at 148, it was even more. Great move. What happens with AMD from here when you're this far up?
To quote myself, I'm still long stock from down there, but I literally said this morning, I said, AMD is like Coinbase yesterday. And what I mean by that is we're long coin, a lot of us, but I said, listen, for anyone who's trading intraday, this gap open is like an easy short. It's like 83 RSI. And I said, you could just short Coinbase pre-market and you'll probably, and I think it was like down 10 or 15 right after the open. Because a couple people, Momo guys who, there's newer traders out there are like, well, this is a special spot in AMD and it could just keep going. And I was like, put it in your pocket before you kill yourself. The last stock you buy today is AMD. It's an easy short. So I've been trading AMD since, I'm embarrassed to tell you how long, but since it was 5. So I said, listen, this is, if anything, I'm long. But if anything, you want a great day trade. I know a guy shorted 50,000 today. You could short this till you're blue in the face pre-market, and it had a reversal. It's nothing more than a reversal because it went up almost 30% in a couple weeks. Now it needs the moving averages to catch up. And I do think, given that it is not a behemoth name with $1 trillion market cap, the same reason I bought it instead of NVIDIA a few weeks ago was just, hey, law of large numbers doesn't affect them, and they do have insider buying, and they did up their buyback, and the earnings report was decent. So I think pullbacks can be bought. Ideally, you want it back under 140 to be with it again. And if you get lucky, maybe mid 130s. But that's how we've been playing AMD. Still long, and still think, given its growth rate and what I will call a mini turnaround, because I had a rough year prior to the last quarter, that this probably has a little more room. I'm going to go 160 over the next month or so after it regroups. Definitely needs to catch its breath.
All right. Something the market doesn't seem to care about lately is any data. The market just seems like, oh, we're going to go up and up and up from, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. But we are getting inflation data tomorrow to be the PCE price index, which is the Fed's favorite gauge of inflation. Powell was testifying in the House this week. He told them that they are still focused on the risk of persistent inflation due to tariffs. And he was kind of throwing cold water on other officials who are publicly supporting the possibility of a July rate cut. Does the market care about tomorrow's inflation data at all?
It still cares, right? Like they have what he's saying, that what others, it still cares. Like, in other words, it cares more that it's just not hot, right? Like, in other words, is it soft? Do we have to run? No. But if it's hot, it can be an issue because it basically backs up and gives some credibility to our Fed chairman being conservative, because he wonders about how great or how much tariffs will affect inflation. So it matters because it creates some downside after the size of the move we just had. It also may matter because although like ARK's been outperforming, there is still a group of small and mid caps that just don't even know it's a bull market. And they're biotech stocks that can't get off the mat. And IWM can't even cross the 200-day. So yes, if we're going to have some catch up, like the market's broadening, right? That's how Coinbase happens. That's how AMD happens. But there's still a lot of other stocks that don't know it's a bull market. For them to know it's a bull market, you need not a hot PCE. So it still matters. That's how IWM gets over 215 and stays over.
All right, you labeled it a frothy market, and I think I would definitely agree with that description.
But I'm enjoying it, and I'm embracing it.
No, yeah.
Oh, hell. So I don't want people to say, but I'm old enough to know it ain't cheap. But you can make more money in 6 months than maybe you made in the last 2 years. So it's recognizing the environment, and when the music stops, to make sure you have a seat still.
Yeah. So in an environment like this, when you're looking at a market that just continues to go higher and higher, no matter what comes out, what the president says, what bombs we drop on other countries, et cetera, like nothing seems to be really scaring this market. What are the setups and the names that you like here on June 26th?
Okay, right here, right now, a little bit less because we just had a 2-day gap, right? So the names that are in my book presently that I've been writing are, for instance, let's go over a new one, Circle. So now we know we have an identifiable area. Circle 200 on down should be buyable. This story is not going away. You're going to come off the quiet period and get some coverage Monday. I got to imagine a lot of these will be neutrals and lower price targets. So maybe you get some weakness and an opportunity, but stablecoin is a business with this being the face. This is the Tom Cruise in stablecoin. you do want to own it on a dip at some point. So it's going to be with me for a while. Would I buy it here? No. Especially since I bought it 30 points lower at like 750 last night or something. Moving on. So I look at AMD and like I said, do you just like say, oh, you missed it? No, this stock was $220. And although it's not cheap, it typically is always expensive, trading 70 times, 80 times, 100 times for much of the last few years. So trading at a more reasonable valuation as growth comes back into the company, can this back up into 138, 135 and give you 160? Absolutely. You want to stick with AMD. And then I look at core investments that the market doesn't care about anymore, that you don't know when they're going to wake up, right? That you believe in the long term. So if you get paid short term, great. If you don't, you got something to invest in long term. That's Kava for me, right? Love the management team. I love the founder. I love the profit margins. I adore same store sales. And I told some people yesterday, if you're a short term trader, it's the last stock you should buy. If you're a long term investor, thank me in a decade. And then today, I literally had no clue. Today, it starts flying and it's up like 4 points last I checked. So that's an investment. Recently, I bought some as low as 74. So I run out at 77 and buy it? No, but it's a stock that has missed a lot of the bull market. So I look for catch-up plays that aren't broken. Let me give you an example. Like some people ask me about Lulu at where's Lulu now? It's 230. So some people ask me at 235. I look at the chart, I was like, oh, this is broken, growth is done. It's just like a toxic combination. But if you want to play it for a dead cat bounce, 225. Like when you get there, buy it. I think it went to 220. I know some guys who bought it for that. But here's where I'm going. Otherwise, you don't want to own Lulu. That's a broken stock. So I'm looking for the AMDs of the world that have missed some of the bull market, where everything isn't broken, that can play some catch up. That was Rubrik, a great security enterprise that had a pullback from 100 last week and has done nothing but crush earnings estimates and came into 85, 86. So we bought it. Now we're back to 92 last I saw. So 91.70. So there are some key names like those. MBIS, another one. There's an amazing growth story for Europe with AI that everyone knows about. It's had a massive run. That's a stock. We'll buy on pullbacks. TEM. Now, a lot of these are in my book. Oracle, I bought last week, 207 and 204.90. Would I buy it here? No, it's $212. But I actually trimmed some, like 214, 215. But if it pulls back into that lower 200 range, I don't think Oracle's done. It's one of my favorite big cap tech stocks that is in a major breakout that just needs time to rest. Coinbase, I'm still going back to it on pullbacks. Now, with all this good stuff said, MBIS, and then Immuno, my baby stock that I've been patient with, had a run from 7 to 30. I keep saying, listen, if you're an investor, and I just tell you, listen, forget what the company does. Like, I don't care. There's this guy, Clay. Let's pretend you know nothing. He founded a company from scratch. He turned it into a rinky-dink $40 million company and sold it to Pfizer for $42 billion. And now he's playing around. He's not, but he's with literally a company that has $1 billion market cap. That, by the way, has sold product to the U.S. government and AbbVie and has real revenue, but is still a preclinical and finally has something in clinical in phase 2. And now you've got this guy, Clay, running the company. And he's buying the stock at 13, and he's buying more at 7, and SAC is in some of these deals, right? Stevie Cohen's firm is actually in these, or I should say 0.72. Like, you want to back a jockey who's one of the preeminent scientists in the world who sold his last company for $42 billion that's trading under $1 billion? Forget what they do. Yeah, it might be a good shot. Stock was 30 something last year. Now it's like 9. So that's some of my playbook. Price is important. We've gone bananas, right? I wouldn't buy Coinbase here. I wouldn't buy Circle here. But these are all definite key. Kava, MBIS, MU. A big one of mine this week we haven't talked about that has one of the best long-term charts out there is Snowflake. But I'm in from 207 and I'm made some calls from 213, 214 on a pullback. This is not done. They're blowing away numbers. They are way more profitable than they've ever been, and the chart is phenomenal. So there's some names to look at that I'm a fan of.
All right. Great stuff, David. All right. I'm going to let David go. He is a real trader and a busy one this week. So I'm going to let him get back to it. If you want to get David's free weekly newsletter, you go to t3live.com/DP. That newsletter is
I
sent
own
out Tuesday
Oscar.
mornings.
I'm late to the party. I'm late to the party on
Oh,
Oscar.
Oscar.
Seems like everyone and their mother bought it. I missed it. So I'm the second chance guy because I'm old and slow. But the minute it started pulling back, the first time 19 earlier in the week, I bought some, trimmed some above 20. And then the other day, we got a real shot at 18.50 and bought a bunch there. So Oscar's something I'm holding. Sold a little bit today when it ran to 21, but big fan of Oscar. Beautiful long-term chart. And Oxford Health was one of my biggest wins ever. You're too young to know about it, but about 20 years ago, and it reminds me of that. So yeah, Oscar.
All right. And Oscar was a great win for the Epic Trades newsletter as well this week, with 2 trades there this week, Oscar and Circle calls. So it was a good week. All right. So again, David's free weekly newsletter that's sent out Tuesday mornings around 9 a.m. Eastern time before the open. t3live.com/DP. You get kind of a readout of his morning call and all of the levels he's including there for Inner Circle members for free once a week. So again, you get that at t3live.com/DP. David, have a great rest of your day and your trading week. Talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.